Stick around, y'all. And happy loving to you.
Welcome to the end of summer lovin'. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to this weekend celebrating the end of summer with all of you beautiful people. I want to thank Bim Willow for letting us stomp all over his property. And we're asking that everyone respect the land, and it's a no-trace festival, so please pick up your trash. And I want to thank Dennis Frederick for having the guts to do this, stepping out and making this possible. And Maestro Phil, who is walking all over the place, and everything that he contributed to making this thing possible for everyone, because this wouldn't be happening without Maestro Phil. So I want to thank everyone, because there's so much work, covert operations, all the vendors, every beautiful person here selling their art and everything. I just want to thank everyone for coming here in peace and love and light.
Still unpacking, slowly.
Still unpacking? Thing's halfway over and you're still unpacking.
You know, I put everything away last night because the water, the dew was getting through all of my stuff.
Well, I can't imagine having to have this much stuff on tables.
I know. It's rather entertaining watching you.
It's hard enough for me just dealing with t-shirts.
Yeah, I do it every day.
Don't have the flame go up inside. No, it's not. Just let the tip of the flame.
Exactly. You know, this is crazy. Going to be on 420 today.
That's cool.
Actually, I need to get into town before then and get some tape. I'm going to run out of tape.
I kind of recorded a little bit of your speech on my phone. I got a video camera.
Can you like email that and stuff?
No.
If you can email it to me, I can get it posted on the Detroit Liberation website.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm from Illinois, man. They're trying to legalize medical marijuana in Illinois,
tell me about that, man.
Yeah, they're trying to legalize it in Illinois too.
I met one of the patients. I got her poster on the inside of my lounge there, but she's pissed. You know, the people in Illinois have been trying for a long time on this. And
yeah, they have.
I don't know. There's something different about the way their ballot initiative process is compared to the way it is in Michigan.
Well, they said it's in Congress right now.
Yeah,
that's what I heard. The last thing I heard is in Congress right now.
Well, it's good to give the legislature a chance. You know, ask them first before you come back and demand. You know,
right?
Gives you more moral outrage to fuel the petition drive. But show me 200 people in Michigan, and we'll have it legal here. That's one of the things they're going to say at 420.
Up on stage?
Yeah, get some volunteers together.
I'll be there, dude.
Hey, what time is it? You got
it's 2:01.
Talking to this time, just need me that surgery to help me cure my insecurity. I'm in the right place, but in the wrong time. I'm in the right place, but in the wrong song. I'm in the right place, but in the wrong arm. I'm in the right place, but it seems wrong.
In a good meditative state, and you'll feel better. So there you go. Dave's going to get it going.
Hello again, Lovin'! Are you with me still? I just wanted to say a couple things about the one thing first I want to say is, even for those of you who've been ignoring your television, you can't get away from the fact that there's a battle going on right now in this country over how we're going to provide health care to Americans in this country. And I want you to remember two words: single payer. If it is not single payer, it is not reform. It's a shell game, and don't go for it. Tell your representative, and I'll tell your senator, that you want a single-payer system, and you want that vote to go so that we know who's who. Because we know the Republicans are completely in the back pocket of the drug companies and the insurance pushers. And they have the phony argument of how are we going to pay for our health care. We pay for our health care 3 times over already with the money we waste on these insurance companies.
Tell them, baby, tell them.
Every dollar spent toward health care should go toward treatment. But we have executives that give themselves multi-million-dollar salaries to steal from you a contract that you make with them that you'll pay into for years, sometimes over 10 years, and then when you get sick, they deny you your claim, rendering all those payments a waste of money. That is the waste in the healthcare system. And people are dying from this crap. So you need to tell people no bad deals, just reform. Now they tried the single payer. It's kind of hard to understand. So if you want a simpler way to say that, simply say Medicare for all. You change the age in the Medicare bill down to 0. Every born American is covered. Not a dollar is ever wasted on insurance money again. It's the way they do it in the rest of the world. And by the way, if you don't know, in most of Europe, it is a crime to sell life or health insurance for a profit. We need that here. In fact, the whole idea of health insurance for a profit is a very recent development in American history. We need to get the greed heads out of the way between ourselves and our doctors. The other thing I want to tell you about, and I've been telling people about since I've been coming here in the last few months, is we need to do something about getting our pot legalized. We have proven beyond any reasonable doubt that the ballot initiative process works. But the problem is we went for medical only. We should have gone for the whole enchilada. I've got food on my mind because of the food vendors here, but we got a stack of churros instead of the whole enchilada. I want the whole thing next time. You show me 200 people who are willing to go door to door for just a couple hours a day. I will show you a ballot initiative that will make pot legal for all uses in the state of Michigan, not 3 years from now, not 10 years from now, but at the midterm elections. Come up to here, come up to me, especially this evening if I get on to speak again. I'm taking names. I want these volunteers. We need to solve this issue of recreational pot being illegal because you can't have one without the other. You will always have bureaucrats screwing with the patients, telling them they can't grow X more plants than what they need. It's crap. We need to get the government out of our healthcare system. And now we don't have a single payer system in Michigan, but we do have a single grower system in Michigan. So if you have a health problem that qualifies you for cannabis medicine, come down to the cannabis, the anti-drug tent, and I'll get you started in the process to get you your card so you can smoke, you can possess, and yes, you can grow legal in the state of Michigan for your medical condition. And for those of you who just know somebody who has that condition, we need caregivers to do the growing. If that patient lives in an apartment, if that patient lives in government, federal funded housing, they can't grow. If they've got kids in the house, they need another location where they can have their plants growing by a caregiver. So be the caregiver for somebody in need. And if you're a patient and you assign a caregiver, you can still grow for your own purposes as well. We have to solve this recreational issue. I have seen friends of mine and people who have inspired me have their hair completely turn white over their years. A man named Dana Beal has been protesting against cannabis prohibition for about as long as it's been illegal. I don't want to see my beard and my hair grow white in this struggle and have people still going to prison. I don't want to see the younger people come up, have their hair and beards grow out and turn white, waiting for the day when we don't have to hide our weed anymore. For you people who are growing medically, it's going to be a wonderful experience that you can grow your plants and not have to hide them. It's a whole new ball game when you don't have to hide your plants. There is also covered in the law now outdoor growing. So if you have legal questions and other questions about the new law, come down to the Cannabis, the Anti-Drug Tent, and I'll set you up. We need to kick this pot movement back into gear. We had in the 70s, we had the people left over from the peace movement. We had Keith Stroup and Normal. They did excellent work. They manned their front, but they're pretty much out of gum, we got to admit. 2 blown Supreme Court cases. We need a new group. We need a new angle. We need a new movement. We need to restart the marijuana movement. And the way I want to do that is to start the marijuana re-movement. In 90 through 92, Jack Harrer toured this country campus to campus, reintroducing the 4-letter word hemp back into the English language. And as you know, we all know what hemp is. Mission accomplished. Well, if we can add a word back into the language, I wonder if we can't take this racist hate speech word marijuana, the word of our oppression, and kick it out of the English language. Don't call it marijuana, call it cannabis, especially if you're in a debate, because then in a debate, the person not using racist hate speech is going to have the upper hand. And when they come on to you and say, oh, you marijuana, you say, wait a minute now, don't you use that language with me, mister. You're going to talk to me in English if we're going to have an intelligent conversation here, you know. This isn't a non-union work site here. I want to hear English when I'm talking to you about my sacred herb. So we're going to have the marijuana re-movement, and it's going to be based around the idea of kicking the word marijuana out of this, not only the language, but the question that I have and the question I have for Obama is how can a law be a legal law if there's racist hate speech in that law? Will Obama, the first black president, do away with the last Jim Crow law? I was in D.C. asking that question on the 4th of July. Come with me and I'll ask it again next 4th of July. We have to confront Obama and say, we know you're afraid to make this decision as if it was your own idea. We will help you out, Obama. We will make you make this decision. State ballot initiative by state ballot initiative, letter to the representative, letter to the senator, by letter, by letter, by letter, emails. Send them emails now. That's the best way to get through to your representatives now. And visit their local offices in your communities and talk to their staffers and tell them, we want single payer, we want single grower, we want you to free the weed, we want you to begin hemp energy farming in America so that we can remove our addiction to oil, because again, pot is the anti-drug. It stops the addiction to oil as well as the addiction to cigarettes. We need to kick the word marijuana out of the English language to empower ourselves, to make ourselves stronger and more enlightened hippies. The whole idea of the hippie was that you were hip, you were onto something good. You had a set of knowledge that the straight people didn't have because they were afraid to have that kind of knowledge. Knowing what you know makes you brave. Take that bravery out into the streets and manifest it in a way that's going to bring change, that will liberate all of us. We need the marijuana re-movement because the movement is becoming geriatric. The movement has become too white. The movement has become too white-collar. We need the real people, the real smokers to be represented again, because I got news for you, you're not being represented right now. We need people who will volunteer their time for free to come out and put on events like this. We need people who will volunteer their time for free to gather the signatures, not be paid to gather signatures, because where's that money going to come from? I don't have it. You don't have it. But the people from out of state have it. But you know what? Out of state money, out of state agenda. They can't do a poll in Nevada and say, well, only 50% of the people want pot legalized there, and say, well, that must be the way it is in Michigan. Because I've gone door to door in Michigan, and I know 70% of the people in Michigan who are registered to vote, and those are the people who count after all, those people want it legal. And they want us to put the petition and to put the bill in front of them so they can make it legal. Tell your state representatives, if they won't make it legal, if they're too afraid to make that stand, the people of Michigan are going to make that stand for them. And then we're going to be coming back asking why they didn't give their support. We need to remove marijuana from our laws because we need to raise America back to the standard to which it was designed originally. We are too far away from that. And we have a president who wants to get us there, but we have to know that he's not going to do that alone. The Democrats are going to help him. And take a look at these Democrats. We've got Evan Bayh in Indiana. If anyone here's from Indiana, call Evan Bayh and tell him to stop being a traitor to the Democratic Party. Tell him to stop trying to talk Obama into selling us out. Because I'm telling you, if it is not single payer, it is not reform. If you don't have single payer, you can't pay for the people that need to be covered. That's the bottom line. That money is the profits that the fat cats are living on. They think that they need to have a nice gold Rolls Royce to drive on those crappy roads. If you have the government provide health insurance, that is not a takeover of the health care system. That is a removing of a criminal enterprise from between us and our health care, that being the insurance companies. They've lied and they've cheated and they've spent $1 million a day to deceive the American people. They have committed such a crime that they have no right to exist anymore. Let the government take over the insurance company's role. Your taxes will go up a little bit, but I guarantee you won't be anything near what your health insurance premiums are. You will see that savings immediately. Employers won't have to provide health care for their employees, and small business and big business alike in America will sing the way it used to sing back in the times of a real Republican like Eisenhower. An opportunity here, people. Let's not blow this opportunity. We've got a closing window of opportunity to pull together 200 to 500 volunteers who are going to go and get the signatures needed to free the weed at the next election. So come check me out in the cannabis, the anti-drug booth, and help me out. Buy a t-shirt. You people are missing out on an opportunity to get hemp on your back cheaper than you can get it anywhere else. It's all wholesale. It's all my way of thanking you for coming out and enjoying Bim Willow's Ranch. Because the ranch rules. I love the ranch. And I want to close by saying happy Sabbath to all of you who understand what that's about. If you ever confront a born-again Christian or you're one of these Republican Christians, let me give you a couple things that'll really tweak them. First of all, let's go for the abortion issue. You got all these people saying they're Christians and they're against abortion, and they, especially the Bible-believing Christians, and you ask them, well, what is the biblical definition of life? Well, I can tell you that the biblical definition of life in Genesis and backed up several other places in Scripture is a simple mathematical equation of body plus the breath of life equals a living soul. A soul is not some ghost movie thing that floats around outside your body. If it's not the Holy Spirit, it's an evil spirit. You don't want it. You've got the Spirit in you already. You've got the strength in you already, proven by the fact that you breathe. So it doesn't say anything about a beating heart. It doesn't say anything about conception. A baby is not alive until it is breathing. Before then, it is part of the mother, and it is the mother's business. If you want to make a law about this, then make it a felony for a man to lie to a woman in order to get sex. The other thing that they like to go on and on about is the Ten Commandments. They want to put the Ten Commandments in courthouses and public buildings and places, where it really doesn't fit in. And they think our legal system was based on the Ten Commandments and all kinds of nonsense. And all you got to tell them is, well, what day is the Sabbath? The fourth commandment clearly states the seventh day of the week is the Sabbath. If you're a Christian, you would want to do what Jesus did. Jesus kept the Sabbath. What are you doing? You are following the Pope. What kind of Protestant are you, Billy Graham, following the Pope? Where are you leading us, Billy Graham and Pat Robertson and the wackadoodles to come? Because if they can't follow their own law, how can they impose their law on the rest of us? And that's not what being a good American is about. Yeah, federal money for abortion. We're going to hold up health care for everybody because there might be an abortion involved. So, get on Obama's case. Don't let him sell us out. We have to make him do this thing. He wants to do it, but he has to make it look like it wasn't his idea. We've got a lot of reform we can do in this state. Again, show me 200 to 500 people, and I will show you free weed in less than 2 years. So I think that's all I've got to say for now. We got the band checking up. They're sounding real good here. So I just want to thank you all for listening to me again. Come and visit me at my booth. Stay high, stay free. It's the best way to do both things. Cures, not wars.
We love you. We love playing for you. Music in our hearts we share. Music crosses cultures and religions and races and ages and classes and anything that you can try and stop it, it can't be stopped. That's right. We all have a voice. We all have our song.
You are doing a good job recycling, and you're doing a great job keeping the stinker butts off the ground. I haven't seen very many of them yet. We've got limited recycling. We've got no trash. You take your trash out with you. You know, you bring your food in with you. All your other stuff, you take your trash out. You leave the recycling, clean recycling, and cardboard, and returnable bottles, and even plastic bottles, and that's fine. We're all well with that. You've seen that there's been even more improvements on the ground since the last time you were here, a month ago or however long it was. Well, you know, that's part of what you're doing. But I'm through talking about that right now. I'm going to present the Albigain man, Jay. He's going to talk about good health.
I'm going to talk about a couple things. I do want to I've been requested to give a presentation about health care, but I'm not going to do that tonight because we're all in a party mood tonight. Now, normally I'd be that guy with the bullhorn saying, "Free the weed!" And then nobody would call back. See, this is the thing, so I didn't even bother bringing my bullhorn this year because, you know, I shouldn't have to be the only one out there like a lunatic screaming, "Free the weed!" It sounds so much better when more than one person says it, you know? Let me hear that just one more time. Free the weed! All right, now I feel like we're at an event here. So I'm Jay Statzer. I'm with Cures, Not Wars. Tomorrow I'll talk about the cures part, but today I'm going to talk about the not wars part because they're still waging this asinine war against pot. And I'm telling you, if you're going to attack drugs, the last thing you want to do is take away the pot, you know? But they're giving us a real war on drugs now because we're the ones taking casualties once in a while. I'd like to tell them, you know, hey, you want us to quit smoking crack? Well, give us our pot back and we will. We'll trade you the crack for our pot back. I want to tell you all about how pot is the anti-drug. They say all this crap about pot being so dangerous, and there's not a single person who's gone on to become addicted to pot. There's nobody turning tricks on the street downtown for pot because pot is not addictive. Pot is the anti-drug. But further than that, pot, when you smoke it, doesn't make you release dopamine like cocaine does. It doesn't simulate dopamine like heroin does. It does something completely different. It makes your brain release melatonin. Melatonin is what your brain uses to dream, which means smoking pot ain't nothing but a daydream. But the thing about melatonin is if you know the addiction science the way I do, you know that melatonin and dreaming is an anti-addictive natural brain function. So that means not only isn't pot addictive, pot is anti-addictive. So pot is the anti-drug. When you look at how you make all these other drugs. They require precursor chemicals. All these pharmaceuticals, many of those chemicals are made from oil. You're actually putting oil in your body when you take those prescription drugs. Pot doesn't require any precursor chemicals. The only thing pot needs is sunshine, air, water, and earth. Because pot is not a drug, pot is the anti-drug. Everywhere the CIA has operated in the third world, they have left behind an operating drug cartel. And these drug cartels aren't selling joints. These drug cartels aren't selling lids of weed. They're selling heroin, and they're selling cocaine, and they're selling stuff that is killing people. And they have these huge profits. 500% markups aren't unheard of in the hard drug world. Your average markup for pot, for your pot dealer, isn't even double your money. You can't build up a cartel with a profit margin structure like that, but you can't jack up the profit margin structure with pot, because pot is not addictive and you can't force your customer to buy the product. Pot does not lead to cartels because pot is the anti-drug. When you look at the pollution involved with drugs, especially with alcohol, the broken glass, the damage that drunks do when they bust up stuff or screw up a porta potty at a festival. You know, we don't have that kind of pollution here because we have a pot-friendly crowd here. We have a hip crowd here. But you go to the beaches, and the beaches look like ashtrays from the cigarette butts that are involved. When the police go and they bust a crack or a meth lab, they use hazmat suits because it's very toxic and very heavy-duty pollution involved in those drugs. Pot people, they save their roaches. They save their seeds. They don't leave anything. They probably don't even leave stems behind. The pot people are the very model of the environmentalist, because pot isn't a polluting substance, it is the anti-drug. When you look at the reality about pot and the mythology about pot and compare the two, you wonder how the hell people ever got their information in the first place to think that pot was something bad. But when you look at the history of the hard drugs, cocaine has only been around for 150 years or so now, and it's caused humongous trouble in these cities, in countries, not just America, but anywhere in the world where you have an inner city. Heroin too, horrible history behind heroin. If you go search in the history books for cannabis, hemp, you will find nothing but positive references. You'll find the oldest artifact on the planet is a piece of hemp fabric from China. You'll find that the earliest medical writings talked about the many, many medical uses of cannabis. And you won't find a single negative reference in the history about cannabis until you come to America in the 1930s, where a cracker, apartheid American populace believed anything negative they were told about someone of a color. So rather than call it cannabis, they called it marijuana as a code word so that the hemp farmers wouldn't know that their cash crop was going to be illegalized. So the American Medical Association wouldn't know that their medicine was going to be illegalized. They called it marijuana with the racist implication that only Negroes and Mexicans and other lowlifes of color were the people who use this stuff. Therefore, it must be bad. Therefore, it must be illegalized. This sort of racism only exists in the history of pot, and it's only against pot. Every bit of history against pot is disgusting. And it's another part of the poison of this beast. So I want to give you a piece of advice. If you want to go forward and try to teach people the truth about how pot is the anti-drug, I ask you to not make one mistake. Don't use marijuana. That racist hate speech word, marijuana. If you want to go into an argument and put yourself down from the very start, you go ahead and use that word. But why do you want to use that word? So many syllables. It's like, isn't that like a Mexican word anyways? You know, I mean, why don't you just call it pot? When you say pot, everybody knows what you're talking about. If you're talking about medicine, call it herb, because we're only talking about herbal medicine here. And if you want to talk about the industrial, call it hemp. But when you use that word marijuana, the intention is that everybody gets confused, and you don't know whether you're talking about hemp or herb or pot. So don't use that word. Empower yourself. Be a hip hippie. Don't use racist hate speech. Don't use marijuana. Use pot. Toot a hoot and take it easy. That's what Jimmy Valentine does, and that's why he's so lively and talented as he is today. So, and why he's able to put on big festivals from any part of the country he wants to venture into. This man is the courage of 1,000 activists like me, and so that's why I'm happy to have people like this. Plus, he invites me to speak at his events, which is a nice thing. So I want to tell you that we can free the weed. Come back tomorrow around sundown or around 4:20 and talk. Hear me talk to you, and come to my booth, especially now because the dew's coming. I got to put my literature away before it gets wet. So come and grab a flyer or a free poster for the Million Marijuana March. And I'm going to give the stage back to this presentation here. I want to get off with a chant, though. I just want 4 words from you, and I really want the people in the trees to give me these 4 words. It's simple. It's I got pot pride. 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 Hep, hep, parade, people. Cures not wars. Smoke them if you got them. Stay high, stay free. It's the best way to do both things. I love you, and you have the lovin'.
One time I did this song with Wavy Gravy. He was holding the mic, and I kept doing that over and over again. His arm kept getting tired. He was singing that with me, and he kept switching the mic from side to side. That was it. Weedstock, 1980,
yeah, maybe 1990 or 80.
Weedstock, sometime.
87? No, it was after 87.
That was smart of them to do Weedstock. It was Ben Mazel.
Yay, Ben!
Yeah, all this, the reason they don't like pot, we speak about the pot issue as long as we're talking about all this police and such, is that, they stopped the Vietnam War. That is one reason why they tried with Grateful Dead and other things to make us more passive. In other words, we stopped the Vietnam War. They didn't like that. They figured pot was the main thing we liked, and that's why they attacked the pot. They bring
They
it
were
in.
just jealous. They wanted the money.
Yeah, they want.
We can't, afford to pay the rent.
And there's an experiment. How much did we protest these last wars? Well, everyone did. But on every campus for political, stopping them from doing the war. No, this is what they want. So we're in their face, and we won't let them kill people and our, brothers and sisters.
We'll fight evil through music. Right on, man.
How he speaks the truth, too.
And thanks to everybody here. Thanks to Covert Operations and everyone for both playing with us and doing the sound. They go through a lot of trouble to do this and staying up for days. And the money they're paid is just a token amount of money, So give it up for them. And Bim, of course, letting us come to his land. Remember, this is his land and his home. And take care of it like you would at any of your friends' homes. And, watch out for everybody. If you see someone having a problem, you stop and take care of that. That's our community.